Yeah.
Okay. Thanks everyone for coming. I'm so excited to be the first speaker for today. So I think I'll be speaking to you about a career in AI for your children. For me, it feels very awkward to talk about this because sometimes I think I'm a child myself. Um, so it's going to be interesting talking to you about my experience. So with Unheard, I think we started working together with them maybe about 5 months ago. We had an amazing session with girls from I think the standard of 10, right, up until about first year of college. I came, thinking that these girls are probably not going to learn how probably don't know how to code, so I should, start from level 0. And then on my first day, they were already at level 5, and I had to go, and redo my script. So I think the children of this generation are are really super talented, and they know what they want, and they're super excited to go and achieve those goals, right? So thanks again, Unheard, again for inviting me to this talk. So I'll be talking to you about a career in AI for your child. So I'm Swati. I am the CTO and co-founder at Skcript. I've been running my company for about 7 years now. We're a tech consulting company, and we build solutions with AI, blockchain, and all sorts of crazy technology. I'm also a guest author, and I write for lots of companies across the world based on basically my experience with their technology or the latest trends in technology. I also love to practice yoga, and I've been doing it for a couple of years right now. Okay, so that's about me. And I just want to kind of divide my talk into 4 major topics. So what is it, to be an AI engineer day to day? What does that look like? What is the career path look like? Uh, what do you need to do in terms of college? Do you need an undergraduate degree, graduate degree, a PhD, all sorts of stuff? And then finally, the scope. Um, where can your child go on from their first job, and how does the path look like? Okay, so basically I would like to start off with what is essentially this AI field, right? It's been talked about a lot. People are saying that automation is going to take over the world, there's not going to be any jobs left, all of this stuff. And there's also a lot of news in the media that there's a robot now that can talk to you and do your job, all of these things. So what exactly is AI? It sounds like magic for a lot of us, but like most things, it is it all boils down to mathematics, right? So AI is basically an intersection of computer science and mathematics. It is also it also deals with uh, the problem that we're solving, right? Because essentially we're trying to replicate how the human mind thinks, but with technology. So it is heavily related to the problem, the domain that the problem is in, along with computer science, mathematics, probability, and all of these, high tech stuff. Okay, all right. So what is a day-to-day life look, or it could also be, this slide could also be interpreted as what is the kind of the pre-work that your child would need to have before they either start on their first job in this field or pursue a degree in this field, right? One, of course, is programming. It's incredibly important that uh, you have some sort of programming experience, right? In any language, it's not particular to any specific language, but some experience in Python would be great. Though a lot of hardcore AI algorithms are written in C and C++. An overview and a familiarity and a sort of, you know, adaptability with programming is always essential. Another thing that would be great to start off with is algorithms, both in terms of computer science and in terms of mathematics as well. This is generally taught to kids at the college level and in some places at the school level as well. So that's good enough. Um, Mathematics, of course. Uh, this is essentially where a lot of AI engineers feel kind of beaten down, right? Because a lot of AI engineers now are transitioning from a traditional software engineering role into an AI engineer role. So while they know a lot of programming, mathematics is where it's kind of like a roadblock, right? How do I remember like algebra, calculus, all of these things that I've learned way back in my schooling or maybe in my college years? But that's incredibly important. And of course, a certain ease and curiosity with research papers, right? Just picking them up, trying to learn from what other people have researched, and also, of course, contributing back. Because I think once you get into this field where it is kind of at an intersection between, you can call it a corporate job and a research job, AI is something that's always at the cutting edge, right? At the bleeding edge of what the next big thing is in tech. So for that to happen and to be successful in this field, you need to have a sort of ease with research papers and understanding that language, all that, right? So this is essentially what a day-to-day life looks for an AI engineer. Okay, now AI engineer is not just a branch of a software engineer, right? People get that confused a lot. If I can just learn computer science and become an AI engineer, unfortunately, it's not as easy as that, though it's been done plenty times before. I would say that AI engineering is more of computer science with mathematics and other algorithms combined. So for a career path in an AI field, would consist of all of these things, right? You can choose from, your child could choose from any one of these. The first one is basically, I wouldn't say entry level, but it is, I would say the beginning step in your career path would be data mining, right? So essentially jobs like that focus on big data, that focus on harvesting data. So either from running surveys or cleaning up a lot of raw data. This would be kind of a job that I think kids could get into just after college, right? Data mining. Though this is related to AI, there is not a lot of scope in it because there's not a lot of growth in it. Once you get into this, it's a bit of repetitive work. So while it is level one, I would say it's not the best place to grow into. Now, the next career path that you could choose in this field is data analytics. It is really, really popular now. It's really popular in India and all across the world as well. Data science and data analytics. Now, this is a great path for you to start at. I would say that the level of, so AI engineering is generally a very difficult career path, right? Because it's so new. It's like completely bleeding edge. So in terms of data analytics, this is, I would say, a more branching off of software engineering and less to do with mathematics, which is a great position to start and also lead your career in. And other kind of, we can take a tangent off of traditional career AI career paths and go into infrastructure as well. So how do you scale these systems to meet the demand of 2021? How do you process all of these large amounts of data? So you can get into infrastructure as well. So this would deal with generally a traditional computer science background, and then you go into like networking and security, maybe get a degree in that, and then go ahead and do infrastructure maintenance. So this is, I would say, these three are anywhere from level 0 to level 3 in an AI career field. And the fourth one is definitely where most of the articles that we read focus on. So an AI or an ML engineer, right? So artificial intelligence or a machine learning engineer. This segment is definitely booming. There's a lot of people involved in this, and though it's hard for a person who's just graduated to get into it, anything is possible. I've seen people as young as 18 to 21, devouring research papers and coming up with their own algorithms for AI. So it's, basically anything is possible. And the scope of this, I would say, is a little bit limited to India, in India, and there's much more scope of it outside of India, right? So as an AI or ML engineer. So this essentially is where you would work with really um, large companies, right? Like Facebook or Google, or even like Microsoft, all of these traditional companies as well. So that's a great place to progress in your career. And while the it's really hard to get into this field just because of how difficult the stream is, and also because I wouldn't necessarily say the competition. The competition is very bleak here, but if you can get into this, it's a wonderful place to be, and this is where the next big thing of tech is always going to happen. And another field, if your child is really interested in, in studying and pursuing a PhD, maybe would be an AI researcher, right? So this is essentially where you come up with research papers, you come up with the next greatest thing in algorithms. Uh, this is a fantastic field to be in. Though this requires a lot of studying, a lot of degrees, and a lot of time spent in, with your books. If that's what your child likes, that's a great place to be in. And of course, academia. So this is a very traditional path where you study, you work underneath a teacher, and then you finally become professor yourself. This is again a great field to be in, primarily because this field itself is booming. There's a lot of interest, and becoming a professor in AI is highly respectable. Okay, so what does your education look like, right? So for not all software related jobs, you don't really need a graduate degree, right? You don't really need a master's degree. There's plenty of opportunities that you can get right after your undergraduate, basically your BE or your BTech, BSc as well. And you can go ahead and join in certain companies. Now the thing with this is that since AI is so new, and it consists of a lot of I would say a lot of fields where you need to be experienced in programming and mathematics and so on and so forth. It would make sense for you to have a graduate degree, right? This is where you can actually spend some time learning how these algorithms work rather than just utilizing it and just kind of not really understanding the science behind it. So I think for like level 0 to level 3 in the careers that I've spoken to you about, like data mining or data science, I would say you can probably work off of just being an undergrad, but for more deeper penetrations into this field, a graduate degree is heavily required. I would say do not try to get a degree in data science or data analytics, just because personally you can pick up these skills required for these jobs just at your regular day-to-day job. You do not need a specialized degree for this. So if your child is ever pursuing a graduate degree, make sure that it is of a specific AI or a machine learning degree where you learn computer science as well as the algorithms behind it. That's very essential for a graduate degree. And of course, a doctorate if you are planning to become an AI researcher, or you want to get into academia. A doctorate degree in this field is heavily respectable. Okay, and what is the scope essentially? So within India, there's a lot of startups that are doing great discoveries in this technology. I've seen great startups in Bangalore, even startups that you don't essentially link with AI or ML are starting to use this, right? Like in Flipkart or Dunzo, Swiggy, all of these companies have an AI and machine learning wing where they incorporate all of these technologies into their business model itself. So Bangalore would be a great place, to start your career. There's a lot of great places in Pune as well. I've spoken to many companies, both at the startup level as well as or corporate level, who are actually drilling down and going deep into tech with this. Chennai is again a great place. There's a lot of companies that do both software engineering as well as things in AI. And Mumbai and Cochin as well. There's a lot of companies who are now delving into this. Now, outside of India, I would say this is where the kind of the discoveries happen, right? The discoveries and the next big thing would happen. Definitely in the USA, in California, Silicon Valley. This is, I think, the hub of all of these technology things. So it'd be a great place to start and kick off your career in. There's a lot of places in Europe, especially in Germany, in Switzerland, Denmark, and the UK. this field is booming. There's a lot of career opportunities for people with AI and ML background, and of course, Singapore and Australia. Okay, so now just a couple of fleeting thoughts that I think every parent has. So is this field sustainable, right? I think we can all relate to probably the Y2K, where everyone thought that computer science is no longer going to be an essential or is no longer going to be the career path to choose. But no, we're still here in 2020 and computer science is thriving as ever. So is this field sustainable? The thing with technology is that it can change any moment of time. There've been a couple of years ago, we were talking about blockchain and now we're back to AI. So in comparing with the next the bleeding edge of fields of technology like blockchain, AI, automation, all of these things, I would say AI is definitely a strong contender in being sustainable. I would see that this field has a lot of things that is left to be discovered, and there's a lot of progress that can happen. So definitely this field, I would say, is sustainable at least for the next 30 years. And it's only going to get easier, right, to get into this field. And our graduate degree is necessary. This heavily depends on the kind of person that you are, I would say. So if your child is very creative, very energetic, I would say, start working in startups where this technology is being heavily used, and they can go ahead and grow their career from there. But if your child is very studious and likes that sort of setup, then definitely a graduate degree would be great. In either sense, if you really want to progress in this field, I would say a graduate degree would be of great help, right? Or else it's just a lot of work that you need to do, you need to put in by yourself. Having said this, I can't really answer whether it's necessary or not because it heavily depends on the kind of person that you are. Computer science in general doesn't really, the merits aren't really there with the degrees, but rather the kind of open source work that you do and the sort of the papers that you publish, right? So I think it makes sense to kind of make that make this choice once you've worked at least 2 to 3 years in this field after your college degree or after your undergrad degree. Okay, and I'm sure as parents you must have seen a lot of workshops, a lot of courses where they teach you AI in 3 months, in 6 months, so on and so forth. While these are commendable, these are great places to start at, I would say that this is not the end of learning in this field, right? They're great places to start at, but do take them with a pinch of salt because not all courses are designed by people who actually know what this field is, right? There's a lot of just a lot of easy stuff that's being passed off as AI. So while it's great, it's a good way to kickstart your career. It might not be the best way to prolong it, right? Okay, and another thing is that while I know that parents always like to kind of push their children to be the best that they can be, do keep in mind that this field is extremely hard, right? AI is extremely hard. There have been people working in this field for over 30, 40 years who have just, worked on one single algorithm their entire life, right? This is a field which, as much as a corporate job would like to make it seem that you can work in as an AI engineer, I would say that this is more of a research field, right? This field is extremely, extremely hard. There's a lot of intersecting technologies and a lot of intersecting skill sets that you need to kind of, succeed in this. So it is incredibly hard. That being said, there are adjacent careers, right? Once you choose AI as your field, if your kid feels that this is not what is best for him or her, there's a lot of adjacent careers that you can kind of switch tracks into, right? There's always a software engineering role that you can go ahead into. There is machine learning and NLP careers that you can branch off into, right? So it's a great place to start, and just be kind of mindful of what is best for your child, and is this what is the right path for them, and will they actually love uh, having this job or having this career? And another thing that we've all heard is that you can choose anything you want in engineering. You can become an electrical engineer or a mechanical engineer, and you'll always get a job in IT, right? While that is true for IT, I would say it's not true for computer science, right? This is a very deep core computer science field. So I would suggest um, kids to have a complete computer science background. This is just going to make it easier for them. Or else it's already hard as it is. Why would you add, more pressure to it? Okay, so that I hope gives you a sort of overview about careers in AI. I hope your child loves computer science and mathematics as much as I do, and I would love to see more people in this field. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Swati. It was quite an enlightening information that you shared, on how students could go about choosing their career fields in AI, the scope, and how they could map their career. Thank you so much.